How I hear from God. One, I look with expectancy. I'll just share three with you. I look with expectancy. I listen with expectancy. As I said in 2 Chronicles 16:9, God is looking for those whose hearts are strongly committed to Him, and He wants to support you. Jesus, of course, says in John 10:27, "When my sheep hear my voice," and He says to the Pharisees, "You don't hear from God because you listen to your father, the devil. The reason you don't hear from God is you don't belong to God." That's strong. I've heard people say, "Well, I don't hear from God the way you do, Eric." Well, I'm not saying that you don't belong to God, but I'm saying listen, because He wants to speak to you, and Jesus' sheep hear His voice. That's a promise. That's a promise to you. He's not going to leave you alone. I wait in expectation. Psalm 27, verse 14. I love this. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart, and wait. The Amplified Version says, wait for, expect for, and hope the Lord. That's what that means. Not just wait for the Lord, not just sit around, but wait for, hope for, and expect the Lord. There's another verse in Psalm 5 in this book. This is a book that I just finished. It's a compilation of a lot of devotionals I've written over the years called 365 Daily Devotions with Eric. You can sign up on my website, theranch.org, and get them for free once a day. They'll come to you by email, but some people like a paperback or a hardback, so I put it all together so people could have this whole resource. But this is from one of my devotionals on Psalms, and it's from Psalm 5:3. In the NIV it says, "In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait in expectation." I love the way the Message puts it. Every morning you'll hear me at it again. Every morning I lay out the pieces of my life on your altar and watch for fire to descend. Ooh, I love that. Every morning you'll hear me at it again. I lay out the pieces of my life on your altar and watch for fire to descend. Wow, that's good. If you got a lot of pieces and they're broken and they're all in shatters and tatters today, lay them out before the Lord on His altar and watch for fire to descend. The second thing I do, I write it down. What I hear from God, what I think I'm hearing from God, writing it down, looking at it in black and white. I'll write it in a journal, and then I can ask God and others what they think about it. This is a journal entry from 3 years ago, and I shared one just from last week, but this is just sort of a lifelong thing of just writing things down. And I had written this down November 27th of 2017. I had just been at church worship service at Eastview Christian Church, is where our family goes down in Normal, and it was an exceptional service. Just something about it just really spoke to me. And I said, Father, thank you for the wonderful worship at church yesterday, so heartfelt, and the thought that I would be willing to apply for a job at Eastview that doesn't yet exist and they don't know they need, called the pastor of online communications, to host the online service before and after for online guests. And something the pastor said in the middle of his sermon, he was talking about visions for the future, and we had maybe 800 to 1,000 people watching online at the time. And he said, we have a vision for sometime in the next 7 to 10 years to have 25,000 people watching online every week. And something leapt in my heart, because that's what I do. That's what I've done for the last 25 years, is do an online ministry called theranch.org. And I've grown a subscriber list of tens of thousands of people around the world that I reach with a message every day, every week, and am able to just reach these people. And I thought, my church finally wants to do something online. I'm so happy, because they didn't before. They had only a year earlier turned on the switch and said, well, it won't cost us much, so we'll we got all the cameras and the lights and the microphones and everything, so we'll just flip the switch. And that next week they had 800 people watching. And our pastor said, okay, I guess we'll go online. And within a year, he had a vision for reaching 25,000. We only reached 5,000 in person, but he wanted to reach 25,000 online. I said, God, something left in my heart. And they don't even know they need it. But I'm willing to apply for that job to help them get there. I didn't tell anyone. I just closed my journal. I just went on with my life. They developed a team of people to talk online and share and pray with people while they're watching. And so I volunteered for that team. I said, sure, I'll interact with people during the service online. And so I did that. And a year later, one of the pastors came to me and said, Eric, we just created a position called Pastor of Online Campus. It was not online communication, but online campus. And we wonder if you would apply for it and put your name in for this. We would love to have you help with this. Then comes the decision. I was really busy homeschooling the rest of my kids who hadn't yet graduated after my wife died. I was running a worldwide ministry. I was doing a fair number of things. And I thought, God, I don't know if I can do it. But I went back to my journal and I said, wow, God, I can't believe I'm willing to apply for this position that doesn't yet exist and they don't know they need, called Pastor of Online Communications, to host the service before and after for online guests. So I said, God, if you want me to do it, I'll throw my name in the hat, but you're going to have to stop me. I just didn't hear anything else, though. I had this, though, because I wrote it down. And standing orders are good orders. Standing orders are good orders. When you're in battle and you don't know what else to do, but you remember the last thing your commanding officer said, you keep doing that until you get new orders. No matter how fierce it gets, standing orders are good orders. And the same with God. So I said, God, I'll put my name in. But God, how am I going to manage all these other things? How am I going to do all this? And years ago, I went through the application process. I was in the interview with the people. I was driving away from the interview. And I just have to flash back, though, because years ago, when I was first starting my ministry, I was in a copy shop down in Texas making photocopies of one of my first newsletters that I mailed out to say, I'm starting a new ministry. I had been in the secular world for a number of years, and then God just told me to quit, and 2 days later I quit, went into full-time ministry, knew how to develop a website, so I just went into that. Said, okay, I'm going to create a website, because I don't know what else God wants me to do. And anyway, it turned into this whole ministry, but I was so tired. I had been doing all the nonprofit paperwork, I'd been running all kinds of crazy, and I was in the copy shop late at night, and I'm making photocopies of this newsletter that I'm trying to raise money for, this new ministry, and I just hear this voice singing, "You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you." I'm like, God? It was the speaker in the coffee shop, but it was just this remote faint. You'd be like heaven to touch. Oh Lord, I love you so. I love you so much. Then it just rings out. I love you, baby, and if it's quite all right, I think that maybe. And I'm just thinking, is this crazy or what? But Zephaniah 3:17 does say that God rejoices over us wildly with singing.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And I thought of that verse, the Lord seeks throughout the earth those whose hearts are fully committed to Him. He wants to strongly support them. And it just lifted me. It just lifted my spirits. God loved me. He cared about me. I'm trying to do something for Him here. And He said, Eric, I love this. I'm going to strongly support you. Well, I came out of this interview. This is now 25 years later. I came out of this interview. You know, I hadn't heard that Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons for a long time, before or since. And I came out of the interview. I dropped by a friend's house who had old LPs. And my son Bo was liking to collect those. And they said, hey, we've got one more. It's a CD, though, but it's Barry Manilow love songs or something. And I'm like, all right, Bo might like Barry Manilow. We'll see. He loves 70s and 80s music. And so I dropped by their house after this interview, And I pop it in. It's Barry Manilow singing a cover version. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. I'm like, God, because I was praying for a sign. I was like, God, just show me. Is this really what you want me to do? I love you, baby, and if it's quite all right. I texted the pastor and said, if you offer me the job, I will take it. And I took it. And Easter Sunday this year, we reached 25,066 people. A few weeks before, we were reaching 2,000 a week. We had raised it. I was happy we got from 1,000 to 2,000. I had doubled it in 18 months. Then COVID hit. We hit 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. I told the pastors on our staff, there's about 100 people on staff, I told some of them, I think we're going to hit 25,000 on Easter. And by the end of that night, 25,066. And I say, God, you wanted me there more than I wanted it. You wanted me to know your will more than I wanted to know your will. Do you ever think of that? God wants you to know what's next more than you want to know it. God wants you to know the next step more than you want to know it. Because he has things he wants you to do that he's prepared in advance before the creation of the world. Ephesians 2, 8, 9, 10. He loves you, baby.